Senator Hickenlooper.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank all of you for your work on behalf of the future generations of this country. I want to ask a couple different questions, and maybe I'll go down the list. At one time, or various times, there's been talk of a website that would actually allow prospective students to see of any university, or as best estimated it could be, and there'll be a large battle of this, what kind of earnings they could achieve based on what they studied. And these are averages, and I think there would have to be qualifications on that. So I want to ask each of you just to very briefly kind of give a thumbs up or what's a real concern about that. I recognize the limitations. And then tied into that, there's also from time to time been efforts to allow students future loans to be able to declare bankruptcy. What would happen if you took away that right that lenders are looking for to make sure they can get paid back? And obviously you would probably decrease access. I recognize that, but I postulate those two questions. What about the website that, to the best ability, tries to give prospective students a vision of what they can earn in the future? Why don't you start down at the end with you, Mr. Gillen?
Yeah, so I think that's a great idea. We do have an early version of this. It's the College Scorecard website. You can look up by college and major what the earnings of graduates are. So there's some limitations there because not everybody graduates. But I think that's a great start. We can build on it. I think it's borderline criminal that we don't also tell them, okay, what jobs do they get? Like, do the veterinarians graduates, do they work as vets? Or are they working somewhere else? Not that that's necessarily bad, but definitely a great idea. And then in terms of the second...
Quickly, because
okay.
But that's okay. You've got what?
So the second question was about loans?
No, the second question, could they declare bankruptcy on loans?
On loans?
Yes.
That's a great question. So I would argue no for now,
Okay.
But I would put a cap on it. So I'd basically say you can't declare bankruptcy the first few years after graduation because nobody has any assets. But after a few years, open
Okay,
it.
great. Dr. Lindsay?
I changed my major 4 times in college, and I think most people do. Oftentimes, you choose a major not just because you're interested in the field, but you choose it because you love the faculty. And so I'm not a huge fan of saying that what you major in necessarily is the predictor of what your life success will be or the earnings that you'll have in that. I did a study of 550 senior leaders, and I found 73% of them actually majored in a liberal arts field, even though most of them were working in business later. So the major is not directly the predictor of what your long-term success is, but I think it's important for us to be more transparent of the outcomes that our students are getting, and that's what I think you're trying to get at.
Right, and certainly if you're switching majors, wouldn't be bad to have that website to see, all right, even though I really like this faculty, what's my future like? Dr.
Yes,
Brown?
Senator, absolutely. I believe we should have to show students what the average earnings are in that region for the degree that they choose. I think that's a big deal. It's not just for that. There may be some majors, and I'll use teaching as an example, where we have people who want to be teachers, but we all know full well those teachers will not necessarily earn the same thing as compared to others. In terms of your second question on bankruptcy, I believe there are catastrophic things that happen in the lives of everyone, and so student loans, like any other kind of debt, should be eligible for bankruptcy.
Interesting.
Career and labor market outcomes are critical. We infuse those into our first advising session with our community college students. A national model would be exceptional. It just needs to be reflected of the community and what's happening in the economy in that local community. I think it also needs to be reflected back to the programs themselves, where they know what their student outcomes are and can adjust their curriculum to be responsive to it.
And that bankruptcy?
I'm going to leave that to the policy experts.
Oh, now we're Mr. Pierce.
Well, then I'll take my cue, and I'll start with bankruptcy and say restoring people's rights to bankruptcy is vital. We've had a decades-long experiment denying people bankruptcy rights, and it's resulted in people staying in debt for decades into retirement. The government is required to chase people down and take their Social Security checks. Having an exhaust valve in the student loan system makes people get a fresh start and live whole economic lives. I would also note, just building on what I think I agree with what everybody else said about the value of data and shopping and transparency. The Trump administration has fired the statisticians responsible for managing the college scorecard. We are flying blind now.
Wow, that's very sobering. Well, I'm out of time, but I'm not out of questions. I will maybe come back for a second round later, or I will submit them in writing, but I appreciate your work. For the record, I switched majors 3 times. I got a degree, undergraduate degree in English and creative writing, and I sucked as a writer, so my friends pointed that out to me. So that I ended up going back and getting a master's in geology, which is a pretty steep, but having a better understanding along the way would have, I think, been of value to a lot of students. I yield back to the chair.
Senator Hickenlooper, Senator Warren and I have the College Transparency Act. You should be a co-sponsor. It does exactly that which you were saying we should be doing.
I am.
Super. Well, thank you.
We younger junior senators don't always get the notice and appreciation that we deserve. But
Let's get Kane and Blunt Rochester and these guys too.